Number 6 is public comments by runners.
Thank you. Bob, Ryan Irons, Sister Dale. Your budget, as I looked at it, and I did the worksheet for you, one of the major components there is increases for salaries for elected officials and employees. That seems reasonable. I'm sure they deserve a raise, but unfortunately we can't get ourselves a raise. And the only way you get one, of course, would be by requiring a tax increase, taking money from us to give to them. I think that it's absolutely unnecessary, and I think there's a way that you can go about managing this challenge you've got right now in a positive way. And that's, as I showed you in my workup, basically a temporary hiring freeze and a wage freeze, plus postponement of major expenditures, and until such time as your revenue does increase, and our revenue does increase. I would suggest that actually, if your employees want a raise, that you go back to them and say, look, if you want a raise, find other savings. Otherwise, we'll freeze taxes and freeze spending and salary until such time as you get. Thank you. Thank you. Appreciate it.
Thank you, Bob.
Name is Mike Lucky. During the public meetings, the two last public meetings on the budget, we were told that our comments were not a waste of time, and Commissioner Murchton even challenged us to look at the budget and see if there were ways to be cut. There have been several in this room that have done that. A decision does not need to be made today. A budget is not required to be filed in the county clerk's office until October 1st. And that gives you about 3 full weeks to have a special called meeting if need be at the end of the month. So I would just like to ask each one of you to postpone this vote today and take seriously what these people have brought forward and the efforts that they've spent. I thank you.
My name is Hayden Williams. We met as a citizens group, and I want to thank the judge and the balance of the commissioners for not only supporting but enabling us to create a citizens committee, of which we met and went through the budget. So in light of that, we handed out some proposals today that we came up with, some, we think, very simple, straightforward proposals that can be enacted. I'd like to go over the proposal that the citizens group, as it stands now, came up with. From my calculations, it'd be about 99.8% of the people are against the tax increase as proposed. So moving forward, it would be against the will of the people. So our recommendation is to freeze the 213 tax increase at 37 cents, table actions 10, 11, and 12, delay the vote on the 2.5 cent cost tax increase until September 24th or by the 10/1 deadline. The plan of action to avoid this would be to freeze salaries and benefits at the current 212 level, add no new employees or vehicles to the 13 budget. It's important to note that these represent approximately $1.1 million. Please note also that $600,000 is in the budget as added revenue. As a result of this action, the people's proposal would be that the Commissioners Court will maintain the tax base at 37 cents. This has been supported by the great number of people that have spoken, supported, and attended these meetings. In conjunction with the Commissioners Court, balance our 213 budget and future budgets. We think there's approximately $2 million in that budget that could be pulled back on. It's a simple process to find the $800,000. So thank you very much.
Do y'all know that you can freeze your taxes? Have you frozen them?
County also.
County also. The point is, y'all are complaining about something that you already have. If you're 65 years old, the taxes we're talking about here have nothing to do with your taxation.
We're concerned about everybody. Concerned about the growth of the county, sir, and all due respect, and not those people over 65. So for the growth and prosperity of the county,
We're concerned about it long-term.
Yeah,
And
that's
and
what
not
we
being
ought to-
short-sighted.
That's what we ought to be doing, right?
Name's Ken Anderson. Ignoring for a moment that contract labor from 2011 to 2012 is going up 584%, and that the cost of uniforms in Kendall County is going up to $72,000, 189% increase, and ignoring that the 5 accounts that Kendall County shows that they pay principal and interest on, the amount of interest is 15%, and ignoring for a moment that Kendall County Road and Bridge spends an equal amount for equipment repairs, flats, and uniforms that they do for fuel. The concern that I had from this last meeting was that there are in this budget not the proper liabilities stated. And the liabilities that are missing in your current budget are those liabilities of employee day amounts for sickness. In other words, the commission there was a statement the last meeting that there was money is going to be paid in the amount of $11,000 for somebody retiring. I thought it might be Ann. Okay, but then I realized it was Carolyn. Okay, but at any rate, that means then that there should be an account for every employee in Kendall County as a liability, and it should be reflected on this budget, and I don't see it. In other words, Carolyn didn't earn that money this year. That means that each year that she earned her money, there needs to be an account, an accounting of the liability of all of the employees.
Cleo, I can't believe you got anything else to say, but come on up.
I'm talking about the budget and what I forwarded to each of you on Friday morning. If any of you have found fault with any of the figures I gave you, do you find fault with any of it? Is it accurate what I gave you?
Over it all, yes, ma'am.
Okay, it's accurate. My fault is the budget. 62% of the budget goes for salaries and benefits. You mean well. What happens though sometimes is we have tunnel vision. We've been at something for so long that we cannot think out of the box.
We do have very good benefits. That's one of the best draws we have when we need employment.
As I stated in my return email to you, I empathize with the employees, the 220 employees that are part of this community. I empathize with them, and to not burden them with any additional taxes.
Down here, is you waited till everything's in concrete, now you come in here wanting to change everything. It's too late to change everything. Come here when...
Wait a minute, that's not concrete. You told us 2 weeks ago it was not concrete.
Excuse me, this is a court.
Yes, ma'am.
You do not speak out of turn, you respect the court.
That's true.
I'm sorry that I
That's
need
true.
to tell you people this, but you need to remember that it's the commissioner's court.
We didn't do that. You, the people, did that.
Excuse me.
And we wouldn't be here if it wasn't.
May I have your
for that.
attention on this? I need to interrupt that.
Excuse me, Carolyn's already pointed out to you. If you want to speak, you sign in and you come up here and speak. Don't speak from the audience. This is a court. This is a court proceeding.
Thank y'all for allowing
There's a
me to speak.
dispute here.
If you want to speak, there's a sign-in list, and you come up here and give your name and comply with the procedure. You wouldn't do that in district court, you'd be held in contempt of court.
Yes, sir.
Gene, thank you very much for your input on that. However, in my opinion, Herf Road has absolutely nothing to do with why we're here today. That's a separate issue, Gene.
It is not.
It is a separate issue. What we're talking about here is you guys have worked really hard on your budget, and you say it's in concrete, and you told us twice in 2 different meetings that it's not already cut and
It
dry.
is concrete, but it's way down the road.
Well, we've got a little time here to tweak it a little bit, Your Honor, and we have worked really hard, and we have found way more than enough money to cover the $800 and whatever $1,000 shortfall overspending that you guys did, or proposed to do. We found that money, and we found more than that, which leads us to believe that you can postpone or table a rate increase by looking at this again for the next few days and sharpening your pencil a little bit more, because we were able to, and we can help you. You asked us for help, and we appreciate you asking for help. Well, we're bringing you some help, and it's genuine, it's from the heart, and it's from a lot of hard work, number crunching, and looking over the budget, and we have found some solutions for you, because you're on the hot seat right now, and we want to get you off of that if we can, and we found ways to do that, Your Honor. And I don't want to muddy the water by allowing some statements to be made that have absolutely nothing to do with the rate increase issue or the proposed budget. That Herf Road is a separate issue altogether. And I just want that the citizens of Kendall County to know that we can muddy the water if we want to, but we don't need to. But thank you so much. I appreciate your patience with me. But when statements are made that are not exactly the way it really is, we have, as citizens, an obligation to speak up. Thank you.
Oh, Kerrie Williams. I just had a quick question, kind of from that comment you had made earlier about being 65 and older. Just concerned me that a lot of us think that you guys aren't really pro postponing the tax increase. I just wondered, is that because it doesn't affect you guys personally since you are 65 or older? Or maybe you're not running for re-election? It's easy to say, well, we're not really for it, or give the impression you're not because it doesn't affect you personally.
I am under the age of 65. I can't imagine anybody that sits on this court that worries about how it's going to affect them, because it affects them.
But do you see how it sounds when you say things like that? It just made me think, when he made that comment, it just made me think, oh my gosh, maybe it's not as important to you as it is as it doesn't affect you personally. It's just a question.
I got a notice from somebody forwarded that said, taxed enough already. I believe that's what it might have said. And it brought back to the mind, that maybe I should do a little research. So I researched the majority, and I think actually all of them, the people that spoke during those two public hearings that had property in 2008 and also had property in 2011, to see how how we have affected their livelihood. So I went and I took the market value on all of those speakers, and I added it up to see what would be the increase that they would pay over what they were currently paying in 2011, and I came up with $715. I appreciate it. Thank you.
I think what really is, what concerns me, and I think I can speak for a lot of other people, is the fact that we're seeing huge impacts and increases all the way across our cost of living and taxes from every place else, and we're just saying, please tighten the belt here. I think we all need to tighten the belt, and our plea is that you do that. And we tried to help you point out some ways.
I'm Jan Ellis, and I was here at both public hearings. I haven't been here at the meetings, but it gives me the heebie-jeebies for you to single out Mr. Lux, us, and check on our own records. We're not here as personal people. We are not here as individuals complaining about our own tax hikes. As the young lady said, we are here representing the community who are concerned about the overspending and the tax hikes. I'd like to see who's here concerned about their own personal tax hike. Of course, but are they not concerned about everyone's tax hike? I really feel weird about you doing that.
I use that as some sort of mechanism because there was a vast variety of people that were there, and I picked up. You can look up anybody's if you want to, and you can look up mine if you'd like.
Of course, it's public record, but I'm saying that is not what the basic reason we're here for.
See how we were affecting the residents of Kendall County. That was a mechanism. And it.
Well, I hope you don't use the mechanism in reverse, is all I can say. And Mr. Merchant, I'm sorry everyone mispronounces your name, Mr. Merchant, you told me specifically on the last meeting that this was not in concrete and that we were not wasting our time. I'm that lady again. And I heard you say again, this is a done deal.
When did I say that?
Sorry.
Okay, we're gonna move on. Okay, number 10, consideration and action to adopt the fiscal year 2013 budget. Okay, questions, comments?
I'd like to say that I was pleased that we got some constructive ideas back from the folks. We cannot go back now and ask the employees of Kendall County to freeze their wages and thereby pay for that tax. I'm just not willing to do that.
You know, I've been sitting up here not saying anything. It's like a lot of the people that are in my precinct, they haven't said anything to me. I've got about 8,500 people. I think there's 3 or 4 that are here. I've had as many as 10 here. And yes, we do supplement the fire departments. We buy a lot of their fire trucks. People don't realize a fire truck is $150,000. An ambulance. Whenever I first came in here, our ambulances were anywhere from 120 to 160,000 miles. We have a new fleet. We have good equipment. I know myself, there's no way I would have rode in any of those ambulances. And it all costs money. And yet, you want to cut the salaries of the people that give you those services. That's just like here on the courthouse. We have 2 employees that take care of the facilities. Good thing we don't have a wet year, because it takes 3 days for one man to do all of our facilities services, mowing the grass, edging, and everything else. And it's heartening to where you go to other counties, you see that their courthouses and everything are manicured and all that. Somebody's got to pay for it. We don't. We have 2 guys that do it, and it takes it takes 3 days for them to do it. Stuff like that we have to go through.
Any other questions, comments from the court?
Your Honor,
Yes.
I hate to be a pain, but I'm starting to get a little bit confused now. You said cut several times during your comment. We're not asking you to cut. We're asking you to not continue increasing. When we can't afford it, in our own business budgets and our own personal budgets, we cannot afford to continue increasing spending if we don't have the revenues coming in. And we're not asking you to cut any employee's pay.
No.
The way to add revenue is decrease the tax rate so more people will be able to continue to build and live. Now, I am begging you guys to get it. We've asked you to look at this with an open mind. And if you're going to come in here and it's in concrete, that your mind is in a block of concrete, and you're not willing to look at the suggestions that we're offering, because we did what you said you did, and we did find the differences. But we're not asking to cut these people's pay, and I appreciate it if you would clarify that. If you really mean cut, I don't agree with cutting at this point. Later on, we can look at areas to cut, but I don't think that's the issue here. And I just want to be sure that that's clear. Thank you.
Thank you.
Nobody's gonna do it, I'm gonna move to approve the budget as submitted.
With appropriate changes. With appropriate changes. With the appropriate changes.
Yeah, with the appropriate changes, given to us this morning.
Second.
Motion been made by Commissioner Mertson, seconded by Commissioner Lux. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposition? Being that 5-0. Number 11, discussion and action to ratify the property tax increase reflected in the budget. Record vote required. This year's property tax levy will raise more revenue from property taxes than in the preceding year.
I'd like to make a motion to ratify the property tax increase reflected in the budget.
Motion been made by Commissioner Lux, seconded by Commissioner Rush. Rush.
Wait.
Yes.
Aye.
Lux.
Aye.
Aye. Judge. Aye. Gene.
Aye.
Ann.
Aye.
Got that? Number 12, consideration act to adopt 2012 property tax rate not to exceed 39.5 cents of .395 per 100 taxable value.
It is ordered by the Commissioners Court of Kendall County, Texas. I move that the property tax rate be increased by the adoption of a tax rate of .395 cents per, or dollars, per 100 taxable value, which is effectively a 6.48% increase in the tax rate. The tax rate will raise more taxes for maintenance and operation than last year's tax rate. Motion made by Commissioner Mertson.
Okay, Ann Ryder, you vote
Yes.
for. Gene votes for. Darrell Lux votes for. Kenneth Rush.
For.
I'm sorry, Darrell,
For.
went over that. Okay,
Judge, how did you vote?
I voted for it. Okay. A long time getting there, but I guarantee you next year we're gonna be glad we did this, because we're gonna be in trouble sure enough.